In cities, though, the lack of farmland requires further innovation. The answer could be urban farming.
Urban farming, I believe, it is the next sunrise industry. Environmental degradation is taking such a toll on the agriculture industry. If we imagine if this pandemic would continue for another 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, we want to have self-sustainability and self-sufficiency for vegetables and for fish.
In central Jakarta's Cempaka Putih sub-district exists Kampung Hijau Berseri, or a glowing green village. The creator, Adyan Sudiana, was exposed to urban farming in 2011. Initially, he planted vegetables around his own house the traditional way. As the soil quality depleted, he switched to hydroponics. Hydroponics involves growing crops without soil by using water-based mineral nutrients and sunlight.
Hidroponik lebih menantang lagi karena memang satu, dia bisa kita tanam di lahan-lahan sempit. Tapi syaratnya adalah sinar matahari. Sinar matahari harus mutlak, dapat menyinari. Itu kalau untuk di ruang terbuka. Tapi itu bisa juga dilakukan di ruang tertutup atau indoor ya. Nah itu juga dengan teknologi, dia bisa pakai grow light.
Adyan's passion turned into a community movement that is now fully supported by the DKI Jakarta provincial government. At this farm, Adyan grows a variety of crops.
Kalau di sini selain kita nanam sayuran-sayuran hidroponik, terus juga ada tanaman obat, kita juga melihara ikan, kita juga nanam buah. Di sebelah sana kita tanam mangga, yang di sini juga kita ada pisang, ada sawo, ada beberapa lagi tanaman buah, ada jambu Jamaika, ada juga alpukat, ada belimbing, juga kita tanam anggur. Nah untuk tirai-tirai inilah. Kita gunakan pupuk-pupuk kandang dari kegiatan masyarakat ataupun kita mengelola sampah ya. Dari biokonversi maggot, ada kasgotnya, itu bisa jadi pupuk. Terus kita mengompos dari hasil pilah sampah rumah di warga. Itu juga bisa menjadi unsur organik bagi tanaman yang kita tanam.
The produce from the farm is shared within the community, a way to allay the rising cost of living.
Kalau kita beli kayak harga sekarang cabai berapa? Tinggi sekali. Tapi kalau kita punya minimal 2 pot aja, 2 tanaman di setiap rumah kita, membantu kita ini. Ya, kalau di sayurannya, ya kita menghemat di sayurannya, di cabai.
Saya support gitu karena saya pribadi sebagai ibu rumah tangga sangat terbantu lah gitu. Kita dapat sayuran yang bersih, yang sehat, yang kita tahu penanganannya seperti apa gitu. Untuk anak-anak kita nyediainnya juga.
To improve its domestic food supply, last year the Indonesian government announced plans to lure 2.5 million millennials to agriculture, a sector usually seen as less attractive to young workers. Modern methods like hydroponics and urban farming could be a key part of this strategy.
I don't think there is a city that can 100% secure food from their own territories. But urban farming also has its cultural and social benefits in which people actually have food production in their minds. So instead of thinking about the city as something that just relate to service industry or commerce and trades, but it's also thinking about the city, the urban land, as a place that can produce food.
But ultimately, such strategies will only bear fruit in the long term. Meanwhile, high food prices continue to create social and political pressures.
The protectionism is happening everywhere after the pandemic, but the policy to increase productivity of any food is take very long time. Maybe takes 10 to 20 years, depends on some commodities. So there's a huge gap. So before the election, inflation is very, very sensitive. Any elections, especially next year elections. So price stability is a must to be elected. The price stability will be measures by protectionism.
In the short term, governments in Indonesia and elsewhere will continue to see high food prices and disruptions in supplies. Under pressure from local voters, export bans like the one placed on palm oil could become more common.
So it's not just Indonesia, it's not just Singapore, but I believe every country, government that is just thinking aloud to ensure they have food security. With the protectionism that is just taking place, perhaps we may have the next variant of COVID, that may come, and government may practice more protectionism. There'll be more banning of protein. I think this can become a very, very rampant practice.
With climate change, increasing urbanization, more people working in fields other than agriculture, it's all the more important that countries keep their food trade open, because we can rely less on our own natural or demographic endowments.